I found the locked drawer 3 weeks after the funeral, a small one in his workshop, tucked under the workbench, hidden behind old paint cans. I'd never seen it before. I stood there with a screwdriver in my hand, staring at that little brass lock, and I thought, do I really want to know? I broke the lock anyway. Inside were letters, not from women. They were letters he wrote to himself, journal entries, pages and pages of his handwriting. And in them he talked about me, about how he knew he failed me, about how he was scared I would leave, about how he loved me. I'm 62 years old, and I need to tell you something I've never told another soul. My husband Richard died 14 months ago. Heart attack in the garage on a Sunday morning, bringing in the newspaper. We were married for 39 years. One entry from 2019 said, "She deserves better than me. She always did. I don't know why she stays. Maybe one day I'll have the courage to ask." He never asked, and I never told. Let me back up. Let me tell you what I mean. Richard was a good provider, good father, coached our son's Little League, remembered our daughter's birthdays with flowers. The neighbors loved him. The church loved him. At the funeral, people said he was a saint, and I sat there nodding because that's who he was to them. To me, he was something else. I found out about the first one in 2004. A woman from his work, emails, late nights at the office. When I confronted him, he cried, said he was weak, said it didn't mean anything, said he loved me. I believed him because I needed to. The kids were 12 and 9. What was I supposed to do? Leave? I stayed. He was good for about 3 years. Then, 2007, another one, a different woman. This time I didn't confront. I just went quiet. Something inside me folded itself up and put itself away. Not anger, not sadness, just acceptance. Like learning to live with a leak in the ceiling that never gets fixed. After that, I stopped looking, stopped asking. I went through the motions, made his dinner, did his laundry, lay beside him in bed every night, facing the wall, while he faced the ceiling. We were a married couple. We were also strangers. But here's the thing I haven't told anyone. I stayed not because I loved him, not because I was scared to be alone. I stayed because I wanted proof. I wanted him to get caught. I wanted the whole world to see what I saw. I wanted validation that my pain was real. That's pathetic, isn't it? Wasting 15 years waiting for other people to believe you. The third one was when I was 55. I found a receipt in his coat pocket. Hotel downtown. Date night during a week he said he was working late. I put the receipt back. Made him meatloaf for dinner. Watched him eat it and say it was good. And I smiled. That night I lay awake and imagined all the women, all the hotel rooms, all the lies. And I realized I didn't feel jealous anymore. I felt nothing. That was worse than anger. I wanted nothing from Richard. Not affection, not honesty, not even an apology. I just wanted him to come home every night so the neighbors wouldn't talk. He died not knowing I knew about any of them. He died thinking he got away with it. And the worst part? He did. The whole town showed up at his funeral, talking about what a wonderful man he was. And I sat there in black nodding along, burying a man I didn't recognize, and a marriage that didn't exist. The kids grieved hard. I held their hands. I rubbed their backs. I was the strong one. That's what they said. Look at Mom, so composed. They didn't know I was composed, because I had already grieved. I grieved in 2004. I grieved in 2007. I grieved every time I found something I wasn't supposed to find and said nothing. By the time Richard died, there was nothing left to grieve, just a body to bury and a story to maintain. Then I found that locked drawer, and those letters changed everything. Not because they made me miss him, not because I forgave him, because I realized we spent 39 years in the same house, living completely different lives. He had his secrets, I had mine, and neither of us ever crossed the bridge to the other side. The first Sunday after I found those letters, something shifted. For 39 years, Sunday dinner was sacred. Richard's mother started the tradition: roast chicken, mashed potatoes, gravy, at exactly 4 o'clock. I spent every Sunday of my adult life from noon until 4 making that meal. Even when I was exhausted, even when I was sick. Sunday dinner at 4, no exceptions. That first Sunday after I found the letters, I didn't make roast chicken. I made pasta, just for myself. Sat down at 5 o'clock with a book and ate while I read. No gravy, no potatoes, no 4 o'clock, no hymn. I sat there chewing my pasta and I thought, I never liked roast chicken. I ate it for 39 years because he liked it, because his mother made it, because it was tradition. I ate 39 years of Sunday dinners I didn't even want. That realization hit me harder than any of the affairs. I had spent nearly 4 decades eating food I didn't like, at a time I didn't choose, for a man who was sleeping with other women. I laughed, actually laughed out loud in my empty kitchen. Then I cried. Then I laughed again. It was the most honest moment I'd had in years. Last month I went to lunch with my daughter. She looked at me and said, Mom, are you dating anyone? I laughed. She said, Dad wouldn't want you to be alone. I told her I wasn't alone. I had my books, my garden, my friends. She said, that's not what I mean. And I said, I know. The answer is no. What I didn't tell her is that I can't imagine being with anyone ever again. Not because I'm still married to her father, but because I spent 39 years being married to someone I didn't fully know. Someone who kept parts of himself locked away. Someone who made me lock away parts of myself, too. I started painting 3 months ago. Watercolors. I haven't painted since college. Richard thought painting was impractical, a waste of time. He never said it directly, he just asked questions. How much does that cost? Where are you going to put that? So I stopped, like I stopped so many things. My daughter came over last week and saw my paintings on the kitchen wall. She said, These are beautiful. When did you start? I said, When your father died. She got quiet. Then she said, You seem happier. I didn't answer. What could I say? That every day I wake up in this house alone feels like a gift. that I walk through rooms that used to feel like his and now feel like mine, that I eat pasta on Sundays whenever I want, that I haven't cried for him once in 14 months. How do you tell your children that their father's death was the best thing that ever happened to you? You don't. You carry it the same way you carried the marriage, quietly, invisibly, with a straight back and a pleasant smile. Last night I dreamed about him. We were young, newly married, sitting on the porch of our first apartment. He was holding my hand. He said, "I'm sorry for all of it." And I said, "I know." And he said, "Do you forgive me?" And I woke up before I could answer. I lay in bed for an hour thinking about that dream, thinking about whether I ever really loved him or just loved the idea of who he could have been, thinking about all the years I spent waiting for him to become that person. He never did, and now he never will. I'm 62 years old. I have maybe 20 good years left. 20 years of Sundays without roast chicken. 20 years of dinners I choose, music I pick, silence that belongs to me. I wore a red dress to my grandson's birthday party last month. My daughter said, "Mom, you look gorgeous." I felt seen for the first time in decades, not as someone's mother, not as someone's widow, just as myself, a woman in a red dress at a child's birthday party. When I got home that night, I stood in front of the mirror and looked at myself. 62 years old, gray hair, wrinkles, a body that's borne children and grief and secrets. And I thought, you made it. You're still here. You survived 39 years of almost loving someone. I don't know if there's advice in this for anyone else. I just know that somewhere tonight, there's another woman lying beside a man who's already left her in every way that matters. Another woman who's stopped asking questions because she's afraid of the answers. I won't tell you to leave. I won't tell you to stay. I'll only say this. Don't wait 14 months after he's gone to wonder who you could have been. Don't wait for a funeral to find yourself in a red dress. My husband Richard was not a bad man. He was just a man who couldn't be faithful and couldn't be honest, even with himself. And I was a woman who couldn't leave and couldn't stop pretending. We were two people sharing a house and a history and a bed, living completely alone. Now I'm actually alone. And for the first time in 39 years, I'm not lonely. The locked drawer is empty now. I burned the letters in the backyard last week, watched them curl and turn to ash. It felt like the funeral I should have had when he died, the one where I finally let go. I still paint, every day now. My kitchen wall is covered in watercolors, mountains, oceans, places I've never been. Maybe I'll go someday, maybe I won't. But I like knowing I could. I like knowing the choice is mine. That's the thing about 39 years with someone. You forget you have choices. You forget you're allowed to want things. You forget you exist outside of them. I exist now, at 62, in a house that finally feels like mine, with a red dress in the closet and paint drying on the kitchen table, and Sundays that belong to no one but me. I wish I could tell him I forgive him. I wish I could tell him that maybe, in some strange way, I'm grateful. Not for the affairs, not for the lies, but for the ending, for the chance to start over when most people think starting over is impossible. But he's gone, and I'm here, and the locked drawer is empty, and the house is quiet. And for the first time in my life, the quiet doesn't feel like waiting. It feels like peace.